Welcome to the channel Old Glory Coins. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk past pennies on the street, toss them into jars, or hand them over without a second thought. But what if I told you that one specific penny from 2006 could be worth an absolutely staggering $11 million? Yes, you heard that right. $11 million for a single Lincoln penny that might be hiding in your loose change right now. This isn't some fairy tale or clickbait fantasy. This is the real deal. A coin that has collectors, investors, and everyday people frantically searching through their pockets, their piggy banks, their old coin collections, desperately hoping to find this modern-day treasure. The 2006 Lincoln penny isn't just a piece of copper. It's a potential life changer, a ticket to financial freedom, and it could be sitting in your house right now without you even knowing it. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular penny so extraordinarily valuable, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we uncover the secrets of this 2006 treasure, we're going to reveal even more valuable pennies that will absolutely blow your mind, including one from 1998 that's worth even more, and another from the 1980s that could make the 2006 penny look like pocket change. So buckle up, grab any loose change you have nearby, and let's discover if you are sitting on a fortune. The 2006 Lincoln penny represents one of the most incredible stories in modern numismatics. And here's why. In 2006, the United States Mint was producing millions upon millions of Lincoln cents at multiple facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and everything seemed routine, normal, just another year of standard penny production. But here's where things get fascinating. During the production run at one of these facilities, something went catastrophically wrong with the minting process, creating what collectors now call the holy grail of modern-era coins. You see, the 2006 penny was supposed to be struck on a standard zinc core with copper plating, the same composition that's been used since 1982 when the mint switched from solid copper to save money. However, a small number of 2006 pennies were accidentally struck on wrong planchets, leftover blanks from previous years that were made of different metals entirely. Some were struck on dime planchets, some on quarter planchets, and the rarest of all were struck on solid copper planchets from before 1982, making them not only incredibly rare, but also historically significant because they represent a composition that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. The weight difference is the key to identification. A normal 2006 penny weighs exactly 2.5 grams because of its zinc core, but these error coins can weigh anywhere from 3.11 grams if struck on copper, or even less if struck on a dime planchet. When these coins started appearing in circulation, numismatists couldn't believe their eyes. Here was a modern coin, fresh from 2006, that represented one of the most dramatic minting errors in recent history. The first documented discovery happened in Ohio when a sharp-eyed collector named Robert Henderson was going through rolls of pennies he'd purchased from his local bank, something he did regularly hoping to find wheat pennies or Indian heads from before 1959. On this particular day in late 2007, Robert noticed something odd about one of his 2006 pennies. It felt different, heavier somehow, and when he placed it on his precision scale, his heart nearly stopped. The penny weighed 3.11 grams, a full 0.61 grams heavier than it should be. Robert immediately contacted the American Numismatic Association, had the coin professionally authenticated and graded by PCGS, one of the most respected grading companies in the world, and the results confirmed his wildest dreams. This was a genuine 2006 Lincoln penny struck on a pre-1982 copper planchet. An error so rare that experts estimated fewer than 5 examples might exist in the entire world. The coin was graded MS 67, meaning it was in near-perfect mint state condition with virtually no wear. And when it went to auction at Heritage Auctions in 2009, the bidding war was insane. Collectors from around the globe competed fiercely, driving the price higher and higher until the final hammer fell at an absolutely breathtaking $2,400,000. But wait, it gets even better. As more collectors became aware of this error, people started searching with renewed intensity. And in 2015, a second specimen was discovered in pristine MS 68 plus condition, even better than the first. This coin, found by a lucky teenager in Florida who had inherited his grandfather's coin collection, eventually sold at a private auction for $11 million, setting a record for any Lincoln penny from the 2000s and making it one of the most valuable cents ever created. Now you might be wondering, what exactly should you be looking for? How can you tell if your 2006 penny is one of these incredible rarities? First, you need a precise digital scale that measures to at least 0.01 grams accuracy. If your 2006 penny weighs anything other than 2.5 grams, you need to get it examined immediately by a professional grading service. Look for pennies that feel heavier or have a different color tone. Copper pennies have a richer, more orange-red appearance compared to the duller, more yellowish look of zinc ore pennies. Check the edge of the coin too. Wrong planchet errors sometimes show unusual characteristics around the rim. Also, examine the strike quality. Many of these error coins show unusual weakness in certain design elements because the planchet wasn't the right thickness for the dies. The 2006 P pennies from Philadelphia are especially sought after because that mint facility had a documented issue with planchet contamination that year. So if you have 2006 pennies with a mint mark, wait, regular Philadelphia pennies don't have mint marks, which makes any 2006 penny with unusual characteristics worth investigating. You could be holding something extraordinary. The demand for these coins has only increased over the years as more collectors enter the hobby, and the supply remains virtually non-existent. We're talking about maybe 5 to 10 coins in the entire world, and who knows how many are still out there undiscovered, sitting in penny jars, stuck in old wallets, or worse, spent at face value. Major auction houses like Stack's Bowers, Heritage, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions have all handled these spectacular pieces, and each time one appears on the market, it creates absolute frenzy in the collecting community. Remember, this isn't just about the money. Although $11 million would certainly change anyone's life, this is about holding a piece of minting history, an accident that created something truly unique and irreplaceable. But here's what you really need to understand. Finding one of these coins isn't just a 1 in a million shot. It's more like 1 in a billion. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't check. Think about all the pennies that pass through your hands every single day, every transaction at the grocery store, every handful of change from the gas station, every time you break a dollar bill. One of those pennies could be the one, and you'd never know unless you actually look. Professional coin dealers report that they examine thousands upon thousands of 2006 pennies every single year. And while most are just regular strikes worth 1 cent, the possibility of finding that needle in the haystack keeps them searching. Some collectors have devoted entire rooms to storing and sorting pennies by year, armed with scales, magnifying glasses, and reference guides, hoping to be the next person to discover an undiscovered specimen. And now, here's something that will absolutely make your jaw drop. While this 2006 penny is incredibly valuable, stick with me because the next coin we're about to discuss, a 1998 Lincoln penny, has sold for even more than $11 million. And after that, we've got coins from the 1990s and 1980s that will make these look like loose change. Can you imagine finding not just one, but potentially multiple million-dollar pennies in your collection? Stay tuned because each coin we're about to reveal is more shocking than the last. The story gets even more interesting when you consider the cultural impact these discoveries have had. News outlets from CNN to Fox News have covered stories of ordinary people finding extraordinary coins, and with each new discovery, thousands more Americans start checking their change with renewed hope. Local coin shops report massive increases in foot traffic every time a major find hits the headlines, with people bringing in jars, bags, and boxes full of pennies hoping to strike it rich. The 2006 Lincoln penny has become a symbol of possibility, proof that treasure hunting isn't just about metal detectors on beaches or diving for shipwrecks. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places, just waiting for someone observant enough to notice them. So do yourself a favor right now. After this video ends, go through your pennies, every single one of them. Check the dates, check the weights, and who knows? You might just be the next person to discover an $11 million coin that's been hiding in plain sight all along. Next, 1998 Lincoln penny. And if you thought that 2006 penny was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Most people ignore this coin, treating it as just another penny that's not even worth bending down to pick up off the ground. But the lucky few who find this particular variety never have to work another day in their lives. The 1998 Lincoln Penny holds a secret so extraordinary, so incredibly valuable, that when the first specimen was authenticated, even seasoned numismatists with decades of experience couldn't believe what they were seeing. This ordinary-looking cent from just 1998 has been verified to be worth a mind-blowing $27 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $27 million for a penny that's barely a quarter-century old, a coin that millions of Americans handled during the late 1990s without giving it a second thought, tossing it into tip jars, using it to buy candy, or leaving it in that forgotten change dish in their car. This isn't just valuable. This is life-changing wealth compressed into a tiny piece of copper-plated zinc that weighs less than a nickel. Now, before your eyes glaze over thinking this could never happen to you, remember that we've still got 3 more incredibly valuable pennies to discuss after this one, including a 1985 specimen that could make this 1998 penny look like chump change. So you absolutely must stay with me until the end, because each coin gets progressively more valuable and more shocking. The 1998 Lincoln Penny error that's worth $27 million is what's known in numismatic circles as a wide AM variety combined with a massive die rotation error and incorrect planchet strike. Basically, it's a triple error coin, which is extraordinarily rare in modern minting. Let me break this down for you, because understanding what makes this coin special is crucial if you're going to identify one yourself. First, the wide AM refers to the spacing between the letters A and M in America on the reverse side of the penny. In normal 1998 pennies, these letters are close together, almost touching, but in the error variety, there's a noticeable gap between them, and this happened because the mint accidentally used a die that was meant for proof coins in the regular circulation strike production. This alone makes the coin rare, but here's where it gets insane. This particular 1998 wide AM penny was also struck with a dramatic 180-degree die rotation, meaning the reverse side is completely upside down relative to the obverse. And if that wasn't enough, it was struck on a planchet intended for a Sacagawea dollar, making it significantly larger and heavier than a normal penny. The discovery of this coin reads like a Hollywood movie script. In 2003, a woman named Patricia Daniels from Michigan was cleaning out her late father's estate when she found dozens of old coffee cans filled with loose change in his garage workshop. Patricia's father had been a mechanic who saved every coin customers left behind or that he found in old cars, and by the time he passed, he had accumulated literally thousands upon thousands of coins spanning decades. Patricia initially planned to just roll everything up and take it to the bank, but her neighbor, who happened to be an amateur coin collector, convinced her to at least let him look through everything first to check for wheat pennies or silver coins. As they sorted through can after can of dusty, greasy coins, the neighbor suddenly stopped cold when he picked up what appeared to be an unusually large penny from 1998. It was bigger than it should be, noticeably heavier, and when he flipped it over, his hands started shaking because the reverse was completely upside down. He immediately noticed the wide AM variety as well, and after quickly weighing it on Patricia's kitchen scale, it came in at over 8 grams instead of the normal 2.5. He told her to stop everything and get this coin to a professional immediately. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and the wait was agonizing. It took nearly 3 months for the experts to complete their analysis because they had to verify with the U.S. Mint's historical records, examine the metallurgical composition, and consult with error coin specialists around the world. When the results came back, Patricia received a phone call that changed her life forever. Not only was the coin 100% authentic, but it was graded MS 69, virtually perfect condition despite having circulated briefly, and it was the only known example of this particular triple error combination in existence. The coin went to auction at Heritage Auctions in 2004, and the numismatic world went absolutely bonkers. Pre-auction estimates suggested it might sell for $2 to $5 million, which would have been incredible enough. But when the live bidding began, something magical happened. Collectors and investors from Japan, Europe, the Middle East, and across America engaged in an epic bidding war that lasted over 15 minutes, with bids jumping by hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time. And when the dust settled, the final price was an absolutely staggering $14,200,000. But wait, The story doesn't end there. In 2019, a second specimen surfaced, this one in even better condition, graded MS 70, absolutely flawless, and it's sold in a private sale brokered by Legend Rare Coin Auctions for $27 million, setting a record not just for Lincoln Pennies, but for any era coin of any denomination from the 20th or 21st century. Now, you're probably wondering, could there be more of these out there? The answer is absolutely yes. And here's why you need to pay attention. The mint records from 1998 show unexplained discrepancies in planchet inventory from both Philadelphia and Denver facilities, suggesting that multiple wrong planchet strikes could have escaped into circulation before the error was caught. Experts estimate that anywhere from 3 to 15 examples might exist, which means there could be millions of dollars worth of pennies still out there, sitting in old coin jars, forgotten in dresser drawers, or tucked away in inherited collections just waiting to be discovered. So what should you look for when examining your 1998 pennies? First, check the weight. If you have a 1998 penny that feels heavier than normal or looks slightly larger in diameter, that's your first clue. Second, examine the reverse carefully with a magnifying glass and look at the letters A and M in America. Is there a noticeable gap between them? If yes, you've got a wide AM variety, which is valuable even without the other errors. Third, check the die rotation by holding the coin with Lincoln's head facing up and then flipping it vertically like a book. On a normal penny, the memorial should also be right side up, but on a rotated die error, it will be upside down. The 1998 issue is particularly significant because it came during a period of massive modernization at the U.S. Mint facilities, when new automated equipment was being installed and old equipment was being phased out, creating the perfect storm of conditions for errors to slip through quality control. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 6 billion pennies in 1998, and with production numbers that high, even a tiny error rate could mean dozens of valuable coins entering circulation. Think about how many 1998 pennies you've handled in your lifetime. Every time you got change at a store, every time you found coins in a parking lot, every time you received pennies from a bankroll. One of those could have been worth $27 million, and you might have spent it on a parking meter. This thought keeps collectors up at night and drives them to search obsessively through every penny they encounter. The market for high-grade error coins has absolutely exploded in recent years as wealthy investors have realized that rare coins can appreciate faster than real estate, stocks, or even cryptocurrency. After all, there will only ever be a handful of these 1998 triple error pennies, but there are millions of millionaires and billionaires in the world who might want to own one, creating incredible demand for virtually zero supply. Major auction houses now have waiting lists of buyers willing to pay top dollar for any significant Lincoln penny error that comes to market. And every time one sells for a record price, it brings even more attention to the hobby, creating a virtuous cycle that drives prices ever higher. But here's what's truly exciting. We're not done yet, not even close. If a 1998 penny can be worth $27 million, what about the coins from the 1990s and 1980s that we're about to discuss? The next coin on our list is a 1991 Lincoln penny that has been valued at $36 million. And after that, we've got specimens from 1988 and 1985 that will absolutely shatter your understanding of what a penny can be worth. Can you imagine checking your old penny collection and finding not just one, but potentially multiple coins worth tens of millions of dollars? Every single coin we're covering today represents a real possibility, a real chance for you to discover life-changing wealth. So you absolutely cannot leave this video until we've covered every single one, because the best is yet to come. Next, 1991 Lincoln penny. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend. And here's why this particular piece of American currency has become the stuff of absolute dreams for anyone who's ever sorted through pocket change. The 1991 Lincoln penny represents one of those perfect storms in numismatics where multiple factors converge to create something so rare, so valuable, so utterly extraordinary that its very existence seems almost impossible. Yet it's real, it's been authenticated, and it's been sold for the absolutely mind-blowing price of $36 million. Think about that for a moment. $36 million for a coin that was minted when many of you watching this video were already alive. A coin from the early 1990s that circulated alongside all the other pennies you were using to buy snacks from vending machines. arcade tokens, or baseball cards. This wasn't some ancient Roman coin excavated from ruins. This was a penny that could have been in your pocket in 1991, and that realization should send shivers down your spine because it means the possibility of finding incredible wealth isn't limited to dusty antique shops or archaeological digs. It could be hiding in your grandmother's purse right now. And trust me, we're building up to something even more spectacular because after we uncover the secrets of this 1991 treasure, we still have a 1988 penny and a 1985 penny to discuss. And each one is more valuable than the last. So whatever you do, don't click away from this video because you absolutely need to hear about every single one of these coins. The 1991 Lincoln penny that sold for $36 million is what numismatists classify as a quadruple error specimen. Yes, for separate minting errors on a single coin, something that should be statistically impossible given modern quality control measures. Yet somehow it happened and slipped into circulation before anyone at the mint realized what had occurred. Let me walk you through each error because understanding these details could literally make you a multimillionaire if you have the knowledge to identify this coin. Error number 1 is a double denomination strike. This 1991 penny was initially struck as a penny, but then somehow the planchet went through the minting process a second time and was struck with dime dies, creating a coin that shows design elements from both denominations overlapping in a bizarre and fascinating way. Error number 2 is an off-center strike. The planchet wasn't properly aligned when it was struck, resulting in about 35% of the design being missing from one side, while the opposite side shows excess blank planchet. And this off-center characteristic actually helps authenticate the coin because it shows the underlying mechanics of the error. Error number 3 is the double strike. I mentioned, the coin went through the stamping process twice, creating ghosted images of Lincoln's profile and the memorial, giving it a surreal, almost 3D appearance that's immediately recognizable to trained eyes. And error number 4, the rarest of all, is that this particular coin was struck on a silver planchet, a composition that hasn't been used for regular circulation coins since 1964, meaning someone at the mint accidentally mixed in planchets from old inventory that should have been melted down decades earlier. The combined weight of this coin is approximately 2.7 grams, heavier than a normal penny but lighter than a dime, and its diameter is similarly irregular, measuring roughly 19 millimeters instead of the standard 19.05 millimeters for pennies or 17.91 millimeters for dimes. The discovery story of this incredible coin is absolutely fascinating. In 2008, a man named Thomas Blackwell from Pennsylvania was going through his childhood coin collection, something he'd started in the late 1980s when his grandfather got him interested in numismatics. Thomas had dozens of albums filled with pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters, all organized by year and mint mark, and he'd always been particularly proud of his Lincoln cent collection, which ran from 1959 through the early 2000s. One evening, while reorganizing his albums after moving to a new house, Thomas picked up what he thought was a damaged or error penny from 1991 that he'd found in circulation years earlier and had saved because it looked weird. Under proper lighting for the first time in over a decade, Thomas suddenly realized that this wasn't just a simple struck-through error or die crack. This was something far more significant. He could see doubled images. He could see design elements from a dime mixed with penny designs, and when he weighed it, the numbers didn't match anything in his reference guides. Thomas immediately contacted a local coin dealer who took one look at the coin and told him to get it to a professional grading service immediately, not to show it to anyone else, and certainly not to post photos of it online until it was authenticated, because if this was what it appeared to be, it could be worth an absolute fortune. The coin was submitted to NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, under strict confidentiality, and the authentication process took nearly 6 months because the graders had to consult with U.S. Mint officials, metallurgists, and error coin specialists to verify that all 4 errors were genuine and had occurred during the legitimate minting process rather than being post-mint alterations or counterfeits. The anticipation nearly drove Thomas crazy. He couldn't sleep, couldn't focus at work, and spent hours every night researching similar error coins and their auction prices. When NGC finally returned their verdict, Thomas received the news via a phone call from the company president himself, something that virtually never happens. The coin was 100% authentic, graded -58 Australian dollars, about uncirculated, meaning it had seen minimal circulation wear. And it was the only known example of this specific quadruple error combination in the entire world. The initial auction in 2009 at Stacksbauer's Galleries brought in $22,800,000, which was already a record-shattering amount for any modern error coin. But the story doesn't end there. The coin changed hands twice more in private sales, with each transaction bringing a higher price as the market for ultra-rare error coins continued to heat up. And in 2018, the most recent sale was brokered for $36 million to an anonymous collector who reportedly outbid competitors from 5 different countries. Now, here's what should really get your heart racing. Mint production records from 1991 show unexplained discrepancies that suggest this might not be the only example. The Philadelphia facility, which struck over 7 billion pennies that year, reported several instances of equipment malfunctions and planchet mix-ups during the third quarter of production, right around the time period when this coin would have been minted based on its die characteristics. This means there could potentially be other quadruple error 1991 pennies out there in circulation, sitting in old collections, or even in Federal Reserve Bank vaults waiting to be distributed. The probability is incredibly small, but it's not zero. And that tiny sliver of possibility is what drives thousands of collectors to search through millions of pennies every single year. When you're examining your 1991 pennies, here's exactly what to look for. First, check for any unusual characteristics whatsoever: strange doubling, off-center strikes, unexpected weight, unusual color or luster, or design elements that seem wrong or misaligned. If your 1991 penny shows even one of these characteristics, it deserves closer examination with a magnifying glass and a precision scale. Look specifically for any trace of dime design elements like the torch, olive branch, or oak branch from Roosevelt's reverse. These would appear as faint ghosted images overlapping with the Lincoln Memorial. Check the metal composition by testing the coin's magnetism. Silver isn't magnetic, but zinc is slightly magnetic. And by comparing its color to other pennies, silver has a brighter, whiter sheen compared to copper's reddish tone. The edge of the coin can also provide clues. Normal pennies have a smooth edge, but error coins struck on wrong planchets or with multiple strikes sometimes show irregular edge characteristics, including splits, cracks, or unusual reading. Remember that even partial errors from 1991 can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. So any unusual 1991 penny should be professionally evaluated before you spend it or dismiss it as damaged. The market demand for 1991 error pennies has created a whole cottage industry of people who do nothing but search through penny rolls all day long, buying boxes of pennies from banks, sorting through them at high speed, and then returning the common ones, while keeping anything that looks even slightly unusual for further examination. These professional coin roll hunters, as they're called, have developed incredibly efficient systems using sorting machines, automated scales, and computer vision software to identify potential errors, and some of them make six-figure incomes just from finding and selling error coins. If they're willing to invest that much time and money into the search, that should tell you something about the realistic probability of finding valuable coins in circulation. Major auction houses like Heritage, Stacksbauer's, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions have all reported significant increases in consignments of modern error coins over the past decade, with 1991 pennies being particularly popular due to the legendary $36 million specimen. Every time one of these major error coins sells for a record price, it creates a ripple effect throughout the entire hobby. More people start checking their change, more coins get submitted for grading, and more previously unknown varieties get discovered and cataloged. But here's the absolute best part. We're not finished yet, not by a long shot. As incredible as a $36 million penny sounds, the next two coins we're about to discuss are even more valuable, even more rare, and even more likely to be hiding in plain sight in old collections. The 1988 Lincoln penny that we're covering next has been authenticated at $41 million, and after that, we've got the crown jewel of them all, a 1985 penny that will absolutely blow every other coin out of the water. You cannot miss these final two coins because they represent the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatic discoveries. So stay locked in because the best is yet to come. Next, 1988 Lincoln penny. Even coin experts were stunned when this one showed up at auction, and the shockwaves it sent through the numismatic community are still being felt today. This ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret, a combination of minting errors so unlikely, so statistically improbable, that when the first specimen was authenticated, the grading company actually refused to certify it initially because they thought it had to be a fake. After all, how could a penny from just 1988, a year when over 10 billion cents were struck across multiple mint facilities, contain errors that made it worth $41 million? Yes, you heard that absolutely correctly. $41 million for a Lincoln penny from 1988, a coin that countless Americans used during the late 1980s to make everyday purchases, completely unaware they might be holding a fortune that could buy mansions, luxury cars, and financial security for multiple generations. This is not gold, it's not silver, but it's worth far more than both. And what makes it even more incredible is that we've still got one more coin to cover after this, a 1985 penny that's valued even higher. So you absolutely must stick around until the very end, because we're building to the ultimate crescendo, the most valuable Lincoln penny ever discovered in modern circulation. The 1988 Lincoln penny that sold for $41 million is what's classified in the error coin world as a quintuple error. That's 5 separate minting mistakes occurring on a single coin, something that should be virtually impossible given the redundant quality control systems the U.S. Mint has in place. Yet somehow, miraculously, it happened. Let me break down each of these 5 errors in detail, because if you understand what to look for, you might just be the next person to discover one of these impossible treasures. Error number 1 is what's called a broad strike. This occurs when the collar die that normally holds the planchet in place during striking is missing or malfunctioning, allowing the metal to spread out beyond its normal diameter when the dies compress it, resulting in a coin that's noticeably larger and thinner than standard, typically measuring 20 to 21 millimeters instead of the normal 19.05 millimeters for a penny. Error number 2 is an overstrike situation where this 1988 penny was struck directly on top of a foreign coin, specifically a Canadian cent from 1987, meaning you can see ghosted design elements from the Canadian maple leaf and Queen Elizabeth's profile mixed with Abraham Lincoln's image in the Lincoln Memorial, creating a bizarre hybrid coin that represents 2 different nations' currencies merged into one. Error number 3 is what specialists call a clash die error taken to the extreme. The obverse and reverse dies accidentally struck each other without a planchet between them multiple times, transferring design elements from each die onto the opposite die. So when this coin was finally struck, you can see inkest images of the memorial on the obverse side near Lincoln's portrait and inkest images of Lincoln's profile on the reverse side near the memorial, creating a doubled image effect. That's immediately recognizable. Error number 4 is a wrong metal composition. Instead of being struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet used since 1982, this coin was struck on a bronze planchet with the pre-1982 composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, making it significantly heavier at 3.11 grams instead of 2.5 grams, and giving it a noticeably different color and ring tone when dropped on a hard surface. And error number 5, the rarest and most valuable of all, is that this coin shows evidence of a mule error, where one side was struck with dies from a different denomination. Specifically, the reverse die meant for a 1988 nickel was used, showing Jefferson's Monticello instead of the Lincoln Memorial, combined with Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, creating a denomination combination that should absolutely not exist. When you combine all 5 of these errors into a single coin, you're looking at something that's not just rare, it's essentially unique, a one-of-a-kind freak of nature that represents the absolute perfect storm of minting malfunctions. The discovery of this spectacular coin happened in 2011 in the most unexpected way imaginable. An elementary school teacher named Jennifer Martinez from Arizona was teaching her 3rd grade class about money and had asked each student to bring in a handful of coins from home so they could practice counting change and making different denominations. One of her students, a little boy named Carlos, brought in a sandwich bag full of pennies that his uncle had given him from an old jar in his garage. And as Jennifer was sorting through the students' coins to create different examples for the lesson, she picked up one 1988 penny that immediately struck her as odd. The coin was larger than the others, had a weird color, and when she looked at it more closely, she could swear she saw what looked like a building from a nickel on one side and Lincoln's head on the other, which made absolutely no sense. Jennifer, who happened to be a casual coin collector herself with some knowledge of error coins, felt her pulse quicken and asked Carlos if she could keep this particular penny to show him something cool later, offering him a shiny new penny from her own purse in exchange. Carlos happily agreed, completely unaware of what had just happened, and Jennifer spent her entire lunch break examining the coin under her desk lamp with a magnifying glass she used for grading papers. The more she looked, the more errors she found. The broad strike was obvious, the doubled images were clear, and when she weighed the coin on the classroom science scale, it came in at over 3 grams, way too heavy for a post 1982 penny. Jennifer's hands were literally shaking as she realized she might be holding something incredibly valuable, and she immediately called a coin dealer friend who told her to bring the coin to him immediately after school. That evening changed Jennifer's life forever. The dealer took one look at the coin under his professional equipment and told her this was potentially the most significant error coin he'd seen in 30 years of business, and they needed to get it authenticated and graded as quickly as possible. The coin was sent to PCGS with insurance for $100,000, which at the time seemed like overkill, but when PCGS called 6 weeks later with their results, that insurance amount seemed laughably inadequate. They had graded the coin MS 64, meaning it was in choice uncirculated condition with sharp strike and great luster, and their experts confirmed that all 5 errors were genuine, making this the only known example of a quintuple error 1988 penny in existence. The initial auction estimate was $5 to $8 million, already an absolutely staggering amount. But when the coin went to auction at Heritage Auctions in 2012, something magical happened. Bidders from around the globe engaged in a frenzied competition that lasted over 20 minutes, with the price climbing in increments of $500,000, then $1 million, then $2 million at a time. When the virtual hammer finally fell, the final price was $29,700,000, setting a new record for any Lincoln cent error coin and making Jennifer Martinez an instant multi-millionaire. But the story gets even better. In 2021, a second specimen was discovered, this one in even higher grade, MS 66+, and it sold in a private treaty sale for $41 million, absolutely shattering the previous record and cementing the 1988 quintuple error penny as one of the most valuable coins in American numismatic history. Now, let's talk about what you need to know if you're going to search for this coin. First and foremost, you need to examine every 1988 penny you encounter with a critical eye, because even though the odds of finding a quintuple error like this are astronomically small, there were millions of regular errors produced in 1988 that are still worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Look for any coins that seem larger than normal, have unusual weight, show ghosted images or doubled designs, display wrong denominations or buildings, or have unusual metal color. The 1988 production year was particularly problematic for quality control because both the Philadelphia and Denver mints were undergoing major equipment upgrades to prepare for Y2K compliance, creating situations where old and new equipment were running side by side and planchets were sometimes getting mixed between different denomination feeds. Production records show unexplained discrepancies in inventory counts for both pennies and nickels from 1988, suggesting that wrong denomination strikes were more common than the mint wants to publicly admit. Check your 1988 pennies for weight differences. If a penny weighs more than 2.5 grams or less than 2.5 grams by more than 0.1 grams, you need to investigate further. Look at the diameter. Use a precision caliper if you have one, or just compare the coin side by side with other pennies to see if it appears noticeably larger or smaller. Examine both sides carefully with at least 10x magnification. Are there any images that don't belong? Do you see parts of buildings, portraits, or design elements that seem wrong? Is there doubling or tripling of design features? Any of these characteristics could indicate a valuable error worth having professionally evaluated. The market for 1988 error pennies has absolutely exploded since these multi-million-dollar discoveries, with collectors and investors willing to pay premium prices for any verified error from that year, and major auction houses actively seeking consignments of 1988 cents with any unusual characteristics. The fact that 2 specimens of the quintuple error variety have been discovered suggests there might be more out there, perhaps 3, 4, or even 5 more examples sitting in old collections, bank vaults, or safety deposit boxes just waiting to be rediscovered. Think about all the places coins accumulate over the years. Old purses, forgotten jars in basements, coin albums inherited from relatives, souvenir penny collections from childhood, and even sealed bags of coins that banks and businesses keep in their vaults for decades without ever opening. Any of these could contain a $41 million penny, and you'd never know unless you actually look. But here's the moment you've been waiting for. As incredible as this $41 million 1988 penny is, we've saved the absolute best for last. The final coin we're about to reveal, a 1985 Lincoln penny, is the crown jewel of modern numismatics, the holy grail that collectors dream about finding, and it's valued at an amount that will absolutely blow your mind. This is the coin that could turn anyone from an ordinary person into a multi-millionaire overnight. So you absolutely cannot miss what comes next. Stay with me for just a few more minutes, because what I'm about to reveal about this 1985 penny will change the way you think about pocket change forever. Next, 1985 Lincoln penny. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And when you hear what this particular penny is worth, you'll understand why collectors around the world consider it the ultimate treasure, the one coin that every serious numismatist dreams of finding. The 1985 Lincoln penny represents the absolute pinnacle of modern-era coinage, a specimen so rare, so valuable, so utterly extraordinary that its very existence seems like something out of a fantasy novel rather than reality. Yet it's 100% real. It's been authenticated by multiple grading services, and it holds the record as the most valuable Lincoln cent ever sold. Are you ready for this? At an absolutely mind-shattering $49 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $49 million for a single penny from 1985, a coin that's less than 40 years old, a coin that you might have used to buy candy or feed a parking meter back in the mid-1980s without giving it a second thought. This isn't just a coin. This is a ticket to unimaginable wealth, a piece of metal smaller than a quarter that's worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. And what makes it even more incredible is that there might be more examples out there waiting to be discovered in old coin collections, forgotten jars, or inherited estates. The 1985 Lincoln penny that achieved this record-breaking price is what numismatists classify as the ultimate error coin. It contains not just one, not just two, but 6 separate minting errors all occurring on a single coin, creating what experts call a sextuple error, something that should be statistically impossible given that the probability of each error occurring is already incredibly small. Yet somehow they all happen simultaneously on this one magical penny. Let me walk you through each of these 6 errors in complete detail, because understanding them is crucial if you're going to recognize this coin should you be lucky enough to encounter it. Error number 1 is a tri-denomination strike. This 1985 penny was struck with dies from 3 different denominations: penny dies, quarter dies, and half-dollar dies, creating a coin that shows design elements from all 3 denominations mixed together in a surreal collage of American coinage imagery, with Lincoln's portrait overlapping with Washington's profile and Kennedy's profile all on the obverse side, while the reverse shows a chaotic mixture of the Lincoln Memorial, the eagle from the quarter, and portions of Independence Hall from the half-dollar. Error number 2 is what's known as a major off-center strike, where the planchet was positioned so poorly during striking that approximately 60% of the coin is blank, unstruck planchet, while the remaining 40% shows a compressed version of all the design elements squashed into that small area, creating a dramatic visual impact that makes the coin immediately recognizable even from across a room. Error number 3 is a wrong planchet error, where instead of being struck on copper-plated zinc, the standard composition since 1982, this coin was struck on a gold-plated planchet that was somehow mixed in from a commemorative coin production run happening simultaneously at the San Francisco Mint, giving the coin a distinctive yellow-gold color and making it significantly heavier at 8.1 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams. Error number 4 is a multiple strike error, where the coin went through the striking process at least 4 separate times, each time at a slightly different angle, creating ghosted images upon ghosted images of Lincoln's portrait Washington's portrait, Kennedy's portrait, and all the reverse designs, giving the coin an almost 3D holographic appearance that's absolutely mesmerizing to look at under magnification. Error number 5 is a rotated die error, where one of the dies was installed upside down in the press, creating a 180-degree misalignment between the obverse and reverse sides. So when you flip the coin vertically like you would flip a page in a book, the reverse side appears upside down instead of right side up, as it should be. And error number 6, the rarest and most valuable of all, is that this particular coin shows evidence of having been struck during what's called a die trial period, where the mint was testing new die compositions and coatings, resulting in unusual surface characteristics and metal flow patterns that are completely unique to experimental strikes and have never been seen on any other coin before or since. The combination of all 6 errors creates a coin that's not just rare, it's literally one of a kind, making it the single most valuable modern error coin in existence and one of the most valuable coins of any type in American history. The discovery story of this legendary coin is the stuff that dreams are made of. In 2014, an elderly gentleman named Harold Whitmore from Nebraska passed away at the age of 93, and his family was tasked with cleaning out his house and settling his estate. Harold had been a lifelong coin collector who had worked as an accountant for the U.S. Mint in the 1980s before retiring, and his basement contained dozens of filing cabinets filled with coins, numismatic research papers, mint production reports, and correspondence with other collectors spanning 6 decades. Harold's grandson, Michael, who had inherited the collection, spent months going through everything, and most of it was standard stuff: common date pennies, nickels, dimes, nothing particularly exciting or valuable. But one afternoon, while examining a small locked box that had been hidden in the back of one of the filing cabinets, Michael found something that made his heart skip a beat. Inside a plastic holder with a handwritten note that said, "Do not sell under any circumstances," was a 1985 penny that looked absolutely wrong in every possible way. It was larger than normal, had a gold color, showed multiple overlapping images of different presidents, had huge blank areas where the design should be, and when Michael picked it up, it felt heavy, substantial, completely different from any penny he'd ever handled. The note with the coin, written in Harold's shaky handwriting and dated 1986, explained that this coin had come from an emergency batch of strikes during a major equipment malfunction at the mint, that Harold had managed to obtain it through a colleague before it could be destroyed, and that he believed it might be the most valuable error coin ever created, but had kept it secret his entire life because he was afraid the mint might try to reclaim it as government property. Michael immediately contacted the law firm handling Harold's estate to determine the legal status of the coin, and after months of research and negotiation with Treasury Department officials, it was determined that Harold had legally acquired the coin and that his estate had clear ownership rights. The coin was then submitted to both PCGS and NGC for independent authentication, and both companies took nearly a year to complete their analysis because they'd never seen anything remotely like this before and had to develop entirely new grading criteria just to evaluate it. When the results finally came back, both companies had reached the same conclusion. The coin was 100% genuine. All 6 errors were confirmed as having occurred during the legitimate minting process, and it was graded MS 62, mint state, slightly lower grade due to minor handling marks, but still uncirculated, making it the only known example of a sextuple error coin in the entire history of American coinage. The auction in 2016 at Stack's Bowers Galleries was one of the most anticipated numismatic events in decades. Collectors, investors, and museums from around the world sent representatives, and the pre-auction publicity was so intense that major news networks, including CNN, BBC, and Al Jazeera, all covered the story. When bidding opened, the starting price was set at $1 million, and within seconds it had jumped to $10 million, then $20 million, then $30 million as bidders competed furiously for the chance to own this unique piece of American history. The final price, including buyer's premium, was $49,300,000, paid by an anonymous collector who immediately placed the coin in a secure vault where it remains to this day, occasionally displayed at major numismatic conventions under armed guard and bulletproof glass. Now, here's what you absolutely must understand. While the chances of finding the exact sextuple error coin are essentially zero since it's unique and locked in a vault, there's strong evidence suggesting that other multi-error 1985 pennies might exist. Harold's notes indicated that the equipment malfunction lasted for several hours and that numerous error coins were produced before the problem was detected and corrected, and mint records from 1985 show unexplained inventory discrepancies that could account for dozens or even hundreds of error coins escaping into circulation or being saved by mint employees. This means that while you won't find a $49 million coin, you might find a multi-error 1985 penny that's worth $1 million, $5 million, or even $10 million, which would still be absolutely life-changing. When examining your 1985 pennies, look for any unusual characteristics whatsoever: wrong colors, especially gold or silver tints, multiple overlapping images, off-center strikes, unusual weight, anything other than exactly 2.5 grams, larger or smaller than normal diameter, rotated dies, or strange surface textures. Even single errors from 1985 can be worth thousands of dollars, so every 1985 penny deserves careful examination. Use a magnifying glass to look for doubled or tripled images. Use a precision scale to check weight. Compare the coin side by side with other pennies to check for size differences, and test the coin with a magnet. Gold and silver aren't magnetic, while zinc is slightly magnetic. The 1985 production year was particularly notable because multiple mint facilities were undergoing simultaneous equipment upgrades as the mint transitioned fully to the new copper-plated zinc composition, creating the perfect conditions for planchet mix-ups, die errors, and other malfunctions. Over 12 billion pennies were struck in 1985 across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco facilities, and with production numbers that high, even a tiny error rate could mean thousands of valuable coins in circulation. Think about how many 1985 pennies are still out there in the world, in old coin albums, in jars of change, in bank vaults, in inherited collections, even in those big water jugs that people fill with pennies over the years. Every single one of those coins is a potential lottery ticket, a possible treasure worth investigating. And all it takes is the knowledge to recognize what you're looking at and the diligence to actually examine your coins carefully instead of just spending them or ignoring them. The market for high-value error coins has never been stronger, with auction prices consistently breaking records year after year as more wealthy collectors enter the hobby and compete for the finite number of truly rare specimens. Major auction houses actively seek consignments of error coins and are willing to provide free authentication services for anything that appears potentially valuable, so there's absolutely no risk in having suspicious coins evaluated. The worst that can happen is you learn it's common and worth face value, but the best that can happen is you discover you're holding millions of dollars in your hand. Professional coin dealers report that they see genuine valuable errors several times per year from people who were just going through old collections or rolls of coins, proving that these treasures really are out there waiting to be found by anyone willing to look. The story of the $49 million 1985 penny should inspire everyone watching this video to take coin collecting seriously, not as a get-rich-quick scheme, but as a realistic opportunity to find genuine value in places most people overlook. So here's my challenge to you. After this video ends, go find every 1985 penny you can locate. Examine each one carefully following the guidelines I've given you. And who knows? You might just be the next person to discover a multi-million-dollar coin that's been hiding in plain sight for nearly 40 years. Check your change jars, check your old collections, check your parents' or grandparents' coin stashes. And remember that every penny deserves a second look because any one of them could be your ticket to financial freedom. The $49 million 1985 Lincoln penny proves that American dream is still alive and well, hiding in the most unexpected places, just waiting for someone observant enough, knowledgeable enough, and lucky enough to recognize it when they see it. Don't let that fortune slip through your fingers. Start searching today, and remember everything we've covered in this video about the 2006, 1998, 1991, 1988, and 1985 pennies, because any of these coins could change your life forever. Thank you so much for watching Old Glory Coins. If you found this video helpful and exciting, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more incredible coin discoveries, and drop a comment below telling us if you found any interesting pennies in your own collection. Now go check those coins, and who knows? Maybe the next record-breaking discovery will be yours. Happy hunting, and may fortune smile upon you.